Today we have the Elite Creature Collectibles, aka Cinamaquette 1/12 scale Jaws statue. You know, I'm gonna need a bigger review table. See what I did there? Before we get started, I do have to say one of the most misquoted movie lines of all time is, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." It's actually, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." But this is obviously from one of the most perfect movies of all time, one of my most favorite movies, Jaws. And this is the 50th anniversary edition. So if you're looking at this and you're like, Mr. X, is that the tiger shark they caught? Is that Bruce, the actual shark? Because this didn't happen in the movie. You're absolutely correct. This did not happen in the movie. We're going to talk about that when we get to concept. But I've owned a number of pieces from Cinamaquette or Elite Creature Collectibles, ECC. They kind of go by the same name. I think at one time they were separate divisions. Maybe someone can throw in the comments below and educate us all. But I've owned a number of pieces, and I'm rarely dissatisfied, and I'm a little dissatisfied here. So I actually saw this in person. You can check out this video right here. It was at Monsterpalooza 2025, and they revealed it before that, and I was like, ooh, I really want that because Jaws is one of my favorite movies. But when I saw it in person, I instantly pre-ordered it. Now, why is Jaws one of my favorite movies? I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't have an unusual fascination with sharks like Chandler Bing, but again, some of you got that too. But if the movie's on TV, I will stop and watch it every single time. I fly at least 2 flights a week, if not more, and I'm thankful that United has it as one of their options because I can always just plug it in. But it never gets old. I've probably seen it way more than 50 times, but the movie is now 50 years old and it still holds up. And it's not just the scary aspect of a great white man-eating shark, but even Quint telling his story, on the boat, which I heard that was unscripted. I'm not really sure. And Brody and the interaction between the characters. It's just an amazing movie. And this is actually the second statue I've owned with Jaws. You can check out this piece right here. This is by Iron Studios. I still have it. They're actually going to be displayed together. I believe that was 1/20th scale. But as you can see, it had the orca, the actual boat. And it is a direct scene from the movie right before Quint gets eaten. So as you're looking at this, like I said, it's a little bit different concept. This is actually based off of a prop that I've probably seen dozens and dozens of times in my life. So if you went to Universal Studios back in the day, they had this Jaws ride, and I believe Universal Studios Hollywood still has it a little bit different. It's just part of the behind-the-scenes tour ride. You briefly see Jaws, but I believe both parks, both Orlando and Universal Studios, have this exact same thing set up. And again, I've seen it many, many times. And here's a picture with, it's a few years old, but it's actually me and my boys. I'm being eaten by Jaws. So that's what this is from. It's really a conceptual piece, which a lot of people don't like. They want something really specific from the movie. And this does look familiar from the movie because they caught a tiger shark, which they thought was the man-eating shark, and they actually hung that up very similar fashion. So it's an interesting take, and as we grade this concept, it might be a little different than normal, but let's start. They made a wooden dock. Again, that's probably where you'd hang the shark up. This has to be a huge dock because this shark, this fish, is 25 feet long. And again, this is 1/12 scale, but as you go up, you can see the poles, and this dock is old and wooden, and when we look at the paint and sculpt, you're going to see, cracked boards and bird shit and stuff like that. And Jaws is dead. They killed him. Assumably, they did. There's battle wounds all over him. He's hanging. And really, you don't get the scale of this. I wish we could put a 1/12 scale person next to him, which would be about a 3-inch character, so it wouldn't even go through up to halfway through his mouth. But the different pulleys and strings are holding him up, and there's all these rivets and boards holding this structure together. And the interesting part about this is, if this structure was meant to display the fish you caught, this is the biggest fish ever caught, so normally this structure wouldn't be this big. So logically, there's not a lot of stuff that makes sense to this, but I still like it because it's part of my childhood. It's part of going to Universal Studios. I believe I was 12 when I first went and I first saw this. And of course, I saw Jaws way before that, the actual film. And every year, just one of my favorite parts when I go there is seeing this, and to have it in person is really nostalgic. But with how complicated the concept is, I don't know how to grade this because they tried to do something and they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. They took a prop and made a statue based off of it. But I just don't like that in general, so I think it's a 3 out of 5 when it comes to the concept. They did a really good job executing. I just disagree with what they chose to try and execute. Man, what a mouthful.
That's what she said.
So unboxing. And I say unboxing because I didn't film the assembly because all you do is hang up Bruce, which we'll talk about. But let's measure him. He's a little under 21 inches wide at the widest part. The deepest part of the base is about 11.5 inches. It's about 15 with the nose of Jaws sticking out, or Bruce is what they called the shark. And it's just under 29 inches. So it came in 2 pieces. Here is the unboxing, if you will. One very large 60-pound box, wrapped up, straps on the outside, as you can see right here, and kind of an outer art box, if you will. They use black foam and straps like they typically do. They always come with a COA, which is pretty fancy. I always put these back in the box, but here it is right here if you wanted to see it. And then when you open the foam, the shark is upside down, and below that is the base on the second layer. So essentially, Jaws had a little loop of rope, and this is mixed media. It's real rope wrapped around his tail, a little loop that you hang up top there, and then you hang this rope in his mouth, and then also you tuck his fins under some loose rope here. That's really it. And the reason I didn't show it is because it was it's difficult to do on your own, and Mrs. X, I'm weak and she's strong. And if this is your first time on the channel, my wife is half my size, so there was a joke you missed. But yeah, that's really it. So it's a little complicated to put together, like 5 minutes, because you got to figure that out. And what you see is what you get. There's nothing else. Obviously, there's no other display options. Some people might have liked some type of nameplate. I'm not a big nameplate person, but they did put an Easter egg. They kind of wrote what it was right here, kind of on the side, off to the side. So I really enjoy that. I think that's the perfect way to do it. The only other thing I think of, maybe they could have put a half-eaten Kittner boy, which they do have the reward poster over here that you'll see in Paint and Sculpt as well. But that's a little gross. So design, I think it's also a solid 3 out of 5. Nothing unusual. You don't see too many hanging statues. Hopefully this holds up over time. And it was packaged well. So here is the Paint and Sculpt. And interestingly enough, I think this is one of the weaker pieces for Elite Creature Collectibles, but it's still good. All right, before we take a look at Bruce, let's look at the base itself, which in my opinion is done awesome. This looks like real wood boards, like a real dock. And I don't know if it's the grooves or the layering paint. And then you have a lot of little extras just hidden in there. So for example, you can see some bird shit. And then it's almost damp right there, as if the shark was dripping water, which would make sense. Then they used real rope here, which hopefully will hold up over time. But there's a little Easter egg right there. But it looks like this old poster. Clearly, it's not. And this is a conceptual piece, but I love how the rope is tied across, and while it is twine, it looks like rope given the scale of the statue. And then if you move up even further, like right there, those nuts and bolts have rust on them, and even the hook right there. It's made of plastic, but they did a really nice job hiding that with the paint. Then there's the reward, the $3,000 that killed Alex Kittner. So amazing job with the base. And then when you look at the shark itself. So the skin is, I feel like when I saw it at Monsterpalooza, it was better in person, but of course there's different lighting on it. And, I've never really had a statue of a full shark. We looked at just the mouth of the other one. So to me, a shark's skin is usually a little bit more tough, almost rhinoceros-like. And I don't see that here, but I love the battle damage. So there's scratches that are new, scratches that are old, some that have healed. You can see right there. The gill slits look awesome. Let's swing around to the underside, something you don't see with sharks, and again, a lot more battle damage. You know, you'll see them in those aquariums that have tunnels when they swim right over you. I feel like I was in one recently. I'm trying to remember where. Disney, maybe? SeaWorld. At SeaWorld. And then let's look at the portrait. So first has those black beady eyes, as Clint would say. Lifeless eyes, like a doll's eyes. And I think that's spot on. They really look like doll's eyes. And then, why we're here, the mouth. So the layers of teeth look awesome. There's 3 or 4. And again, if you remember sharks, when they lose one, they just move up. And then it goes on forever down there. But I love the red blood around it. So he was chomping on something right before they killed him. I can't recall if the one at Universal Studios has that blood. I don't think it does. There's even blood on the rope, which is pretty cool. So they definitely didn't skimp on any of the details here. However, it's not blowing my skirt up as the best paint and sculpt ever, or what you typically see on Elite Creature Collectibles. We're going to give the paint a 3 out of 5. I would actually probably give Jaws a 2 out of 5. I'm a little disappointed, but the base makes up for that, and the base is actually a bigger part of the statue. Regarding the sculpt, I think it's a 3 out of 5 as well. It's a big resin fish. I mean, I actually have a wahoo. I have a 42-inch wahoo mounted on my wall upstairs, and it kind of looks like it without the sharp teeth. Now, value. Jaws has a huge fandom, obviously me being one of them. And I just noticed my camera is crooked. I apologize for that. And if you didn't notice, now you are, and I shouldn't have just said anything. But they made 200 of these. They were $1,500 each, plus a couple hundred in shipping. And Jaws, I feel like, is an expensive license, because that Iron Studios piece I showed you earlier was $3 grand. So this is definitely a way better deal than that. It's a bigger shark. That's 1/20th scale. This is 1/12th. But again, that's a direct scene from the movie. You get the boat, you get the water. So I don't think the value is too bad, and I think that this is a great collector for, as you can see, I collect tons of statues. This might be somebody who doesn't collect a ton of statues. Like, I'm actually regretting I'm having this in my basement. I should have put it in my San Francisco home. I live in 2 different states, or my office up there. But I think the value is strong. I think that the resale value, because Jaws is timeless, will be 4 out of 5. If I ever wanted to sell this down the road, I could probably make some money on this, despite the weird quirkiness that it's a different concept. So is this a 5 out of 5 statue? Does it have the X factor? You know, unfortunately it does not. I wouldn't say this is the best statue. I'm tempted to do an Extrumble that's an Extreme Rumble where we compare this one to the Iron Studios, but they're just so different even though they're of the same character. I don't think I like this better than that. And I thought I would. I thought this would blow that away. I think this is a 3 out of 5 statue. It met my expectations, but it didn't blow up my skirt. No, I don't wear women's clothing. Kilts. Scottish kilts. The crookedness is really bothering me. I'm kind of all over the place because I haven't had my energy drink today. And I'm going to go do that now, but before I do that, I'd love to read your comments. By the time this launches, I'm trying to do some math. We are so close to 40,000 subs where we're giving away $1,000 statues to you just for commenting. So check that out and enjoy Bruce. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yes, we're still giving away $1,000 statues at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. You have to make sure you're subbed to the channel, you like the video, and then leave a comment. We're going to pick a random comment on a random video and give away those statues. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos and my social media. Talk to you soon. Take care.